Hello, I'm attorney Lewis Haskell, and today I'd like to show you and actually show you a really cool year-end tax avoidance strategy. And then I'll show you a technique that's often employed by the ultra wealthy to avoid paying taxes. It's not the big one. The big one is buy, borrow, die, which enables tax avoidance in the scales of billion. But it's a pretty good one that they like to use, and I will show you that. But the first thing I want to talk about is the donor advised fund. And I'll show you how to set one up. I'm about to set up mine. But basically, imagine that you've had an extremely good year. In my case, firms had a lot of 6 and 7 figure settlements this year. I've had clients who, for example, there's a family trust. There's this old apartment building that their parents gave to them and their siblings, and their brother runs it and whatever. And they get checks, they get K-1s. Don't really know much what's going on. But this year, they got a check for $250,000 in the mail and a letter from brother saying, hey, we sold the building. And oh, by the way, we've depreciated the building to zero. Speak for your tax advisor, you're going to get hit pretty hard. Or person works at a company, person has a partnership share in the company has been taken out, it's been bought up. And again, huge money coming in. There's lots of reasons why somebody may have a particularly good year, although this strategy, I guess, can work always. There are other reasons to employ it. So let me take my $250,000 example. So you got this $250,000 and suddenly you're going to have to pay tax on it. Let's say you tithe. Well, so great. You give away 25,000 of it. You still have to pay tax on 225. You're going to tithe again next year too, but next year you're going to go back to being in the 22% bracket. This year you're in the 32% bracket. Wouldn't it be nice if you could get credit for next year's tithe this year or even the year after? And it turns out that you can. The technique is called a donor advised fund. You just set up an account with your brokerage. Pretty much all brokerages do it. I have an account at Fidelity, and I'm going to set up a donor advised fund today, and I will show you what I'm doing as I do it. And you put in however much money you want. And that's one of the nice things about it. It really doesn't matter. You can, a lot of these places will take $100 or 100,000. It doesn't matter. But whatever you put in, that money is now no longer yours. It's gone to charity, even if it's sitting in your fund. And you get the write-off right now. By the way, another advantage of the donor advised fund is for a married couple, the standard deduction this year is $31,500. A lot of folks don't give away that kind of money in a single year. And even with state and local taxes, perhaps mortgage interest, they're still not getting particularly close to $31,500. Well, this allows you to aggregate 2, 3, 4, 5, 27, whatever years of charitable donations into one year. Take the itemized deduction this year and the standard deduction all those other years, because money that you give away those years you got credited for when you put it into the fund, not when the fund paid it out. So in other words, if you're having a good year or you just want to aggregate a bunch of payments or whatever, you can put a bunch of money into the donor advised fund right now, get the tax write-off right now, and give the money away later. And let me tell you what's really cool here. And this is a nice trick for how the very rich avoid taxes, and you can do it too. I bought some Palantir, I guess it was more than a year ago because it says it's a long-term holding, but I bought some Palantir and it's gone up 950%, which means that almost my entire holding of it is capital gain. So yes, here we go. So if I donate the stock, all right, let's see, the stock is currently $193 a share. It looks like I paid $18.50 a share for it. So if I donate a share of stock, I get a tax deduction of $193.98. If I donate 100 shares, I get a tax deduction of $19,398 because that's the value of the stock. Now, I only paid $18.50 a share. So if I were to donate 100 shares, I'd be getting a tax write-off of $19,398, like I said, on stock that I only paid $1,850 for. That's pretty cool because I have a capital gain, exactly 17,548. I have a capital gain of $17,548 on which I am paying no tax. Let me say that again. If I were to sell the stock for $19,398, I get to deduct my cost basis, $1,850, and I'd have to pay capital gains on $17,548. But because I'm donating the stock, I never have to sell it. So I never realize that capital gain. I never pay the capital gains tax on it. However, I get credit for donating the full value of the stock, $19,398, not the $1,850 that I paid for it. So basically, I'm getting a tax write-off on money I was never taxed on. This is something that people like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates have been doing for years and years and years. This is why all very rich people have their own charitable foundation, okay? They do is they donate highly appreciated stock to their foundation. And again, they get these massive write-offs. So for example, when Warren Buffett says you should be higher, okay? Rate is lower than his secretaries. Well, he can say that because he's never going to pay the tax. Because should he actually earn some money, okay, not buy, borrow, die. By the way, it's just saying borrowing against your assets, which is also a non-taxable event. And then when you die and your heirs get the step up in basis and sell the asset and nobody ever pays the capital gain. Let's say that, needed some money to live on and they sold some stock, buys Twitter, sells some stock. I don't know why he didn't just borrow, but sold some stock. Whatever you can also do is at the same time donate some stock to your charitable donor advised fund, your charitable foundation, or even just a charity. You can give it to your church. And that write-off on money you never pay tax on, that you never report as income in the first place. This is a technique for how the very rich don't pay taxes. It cracks me up for when people talk about the bill and how this is a tax cut for billionaires. And I just laugh like billionaires don't pay taxes. Therefore, Trump can't cut them. This is a very famous, very common tax avoidance strategy. And I'm going to use it for myself. And I encourage my clients to do this. Never sell appreciated stock and then give away stock. And by the way, if you give it to a charity or you put in your donor advised fund and they sell the stock, guess what? They're tax exempt. They don't pay the tax either. So it's a heck of a tax avoidance strategy, completely legal, 100% part of the Internal Revenue Code, and something I just showed you how to do. Thank you.